Right, welcome back. So, back on the Traxxas, since we were so rudely interrupted by the low-speed drag car, had to throw that video in while I was doing this. I've already got on one side, here's the RPM big bearing junk that just doesn't work. As you see, it says RPM on the inside, and what ends up happening right here, the big hole, small holes for the screw, what happens is this pulls out. I believe it pulls out on that side. Actually, here's the bottom. So here's where the pin pulls out. It's silly. I want to say it pulls out from either there or there. I can't remember, but I fixed one. I literally plastic welded it, melted it back together because it had pulled out. So it's probably on this side. I do like how they fixed the bearing problem, but they created a much bigger problem by having this thing come out and cause other damage. So, for me, not worth it. All RPM had to do was take a look at it, maybe make it a little stronger there, maybe put a metal insert into it, into the plastic. Probably would stop it from pulling out. So I already did the other side, so now I know how it's done. It's not very difficult anyway, but I just figured, you know, do one off camera so that I can do one on camera and look like a professional. So these we're no longer going to use because we're going to use those. And then new screws. Which are these longer screws, not these shorter screws. And then the new pins. And a factory bearing. So that's the stuff we're not going to use. So pull the cap, pull the pin, same thing with the bottom. Got a bug flying around in here. God, my hand's so weak. Oh, wrong one. Wonder what all that sandy grit stuff is from. I will save all these parts, the ones I'm not using. Steering link. Then this piece will come off. You can see the big bearing, RPM, and my blue one must have the one that's repaired. So we'll look for that when we change the blue one, because my plans are to do both of them. Now I'm not going to throw these away because I paid good money for them. I'll use them as backups just to keep the RC going until I can get the factory replacements if I have a problem with these. So we're going to throw this bearing in, and then we'll stick the factory bearing back on the back side. Make sure that it goes all the way in. So I'll go ahead and pop our axle in while getting off some of this sand. Put this on. And we're going to grab our clip. I mean, Traxxas is just so, the Xmaxx is really so easy to work on. It's really funny how simple everything is. Some people find Traxxas hard to work on, but once you learn, whether it's Arma, Traxxas, anybody, if you learn how the engineers designed them, you'll be surprised on how much easier Traxxas has designed their stuff. So modular, and for me, just a much easier platform to work on. So we're going to make sure that we get the axle put back into the cup. And this says left. Like that. And then I'm using blue Loctite on these bolts because I really don't want them permanent and I don't want to struggle getting them out. So I'm using just a little blue Loctite because there's no heat involved. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. This way there's no vibration coming out. And then these are now threaded at the bottom. So we'll have to throw a little Loctite at the bottom threads on this one. So what I'll do, shake it up a little, bottom threads, slip it in. There we go. Simple as that. So now I'll feel much better sending these RCs with these bearing carriers on it than having the RPMs on here. And that's the whole reason I haven't used the orange Xmaxx, is because of that. I believe the other one has got one stock hub on it and one RPM hub, because I couldn't find RPMs for one, and then after talking to the company, I actually didn't want to run RPM anymore, so I could only find one stock, or I think that's what I had from takeoff. I can't remember. It's been so long now, waiting on deciding on what I was going to do. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and get the blue one in, and we're going to get started on that one. All right, here's my blue one, blue and black. I will have to fix the body mounting screws. They did pull through. So we will have to put washers on this and get this fixed. But overall, not too bad. This is the one I've had the longest. I just had it out running on 6S. Two of my old packs. So, very dirty. Actually filled with thorns everywhere. We're gonna have to clean this thing out. But it's got some hot racing stuff on it. I have a hot racing diff cover I have to put back on the front because I have the hot racing rear diff, and I was having noise in the front, which turned out to be a drive shaft, and I popped the cover off. So I'll have to stick my hot racing cover back on the front of this. Another thing I'm going to do. And then I have the Cush Drive hot racing cover, and then I have the upgraded steering servo in here from Traxxas, and then I have the hot racing servo saver support in the front, along with the shock covers that have been doing really good. And this one's got rear RPM arms, upper and lower with the hinge pin retainers, and factory front arms with no hinge pin retainers. And then of course it's got the RPM rear bearing carriers on this one. I'm 100% sure of that. And but we're gonna leave those because they do work, but the fronts are just junk. I wish RPM would get it fixed, or at least listen to somebody. Now this one I gotta grab the other. This one I got the hot racing lug nuts, hold on the wheels, which work really, really well. And this one I believe just got new front tires or rear tires. One of them are new. Have to re-glue this because you can see it's starting to pull out right there. And right there, starting to pull out. That added power. So we're gonna get this popped off. And see what's behind door number 1. Oh, that thing went flying. I'll be right back. All right, found the clip that took off running. Very simple job. I think it takes longer to open the package. Than to change out these parts. That's literally a brand new pin. So this is one of the sides that broke. Oh, I'm going to show you this. This pin pulled out, and this is why I'm changing it. God, that's ridiculous. Let me grab a flashlight. So I'm going to bring you guys in and show you the problem with these RPMs. So here we go. And here's the issue. If you look right in here, the pin is out. You see right there? that pin, it's not in the hub. And that's where it starts. And that's why I'm changing these RPMs. That pin right there that's not sitting in the hub, it flexed so much, it pulls the pin out. As you see, I've pulled the top pin. I haven't pulled the bottom pin yet. And that's not even sitting in the groove. I was just about to pull it when I saw it. And that's the whole reason I'm changing these stupid pins. And it'll work fine. You'll get steering, everything will work fine, but now you're just supported off this bottom thing. And after a few jumps, that stupid pin leaves this whole center section to keep flexing. And then it literally will snap off, break your steering, and then bust your control arm. I'm glad you guys got to see this firsthand. That is stupid. And I just had this one out running, and that's why that pin pulled out. I didn't even send this RC. I didn't even bash it hard. And that's the problem with RPM. And that's what I wanted them to look at. I never even jumped this thing high because I knew it had these stupid RPM bearing carriers on here. I actually thought it was the orange one. I didn't know that, I couldn't remember if I put them on both, and apparently I did. I think the other side is the one that has the factory one. But that's ridiculous. That is stupid, and that's what RPM needs to look at. But they want to be stubborn and not agree with the customer. So anybody with these RPM front bearing carriers, look, I bet you yours is pulling out there as well. Let me get back to pulling this off, and I'll show you how the bottom of this thing looks now. And the sad part is you'll never know it's busted. You won't know it's pulled out until you actually break the thing. You know, it's so stupid. You'll think everything's fine. So here's what's going on. Look right here. Look at how it's mangled and pulled itself out. And that's the problem with these pins right there. You see how it flexed so much that it literally pulled the pin and slid out from this direction. Literally pulled the pin out. Look at that. Pulled right through. Cheap RPM. You see, there's the name. RPM right there. With the big bearing on the backside. That's why these things are junk. And for RPM to send that thing saying, oh no, we don't see a problem with it. Yeah, nobody finds problems like this because it breaks and all we do is figure it's our fault. You know, but then you get somebody like me that figures it out, and RPM doesn't want the word to get out. They want to keep selling these things and just keep selling them and not warrantying them. You know, and the sad part is I never even asked for a warranty. I just wanted them to look at it. Hey, look guys, you got a problem. You know, I didn't talk to YouTube or anything. I was just like, hey, you know, you guys got a problem. You might want to look at it. Well, we want to figure out the situation. You know, for me, I thought I was helping them out. Sending them photos, letting them know exactly, you know, how we run an Xmaxx. I mean, if the stock part can hold it, why can't a stupid aftermarket part hold it better? Because it should hold it better. That's why it's called an upgrade. Yes, they upgraded and fixed the bearing. Woohoo! Bearings are cheap to replace. Couple bucks, I can keep throwing back bearings on them. But to have to keep buying $70, $60 RPM bearing carriers because they're going to deny my lifetime warranty, that's stupid. Just another way for a company to get rich off the working class or the kids out there just trying to have fun. So this is left. So we want to grab the one that says left. I'm going to throw the bearing in it. And that's what I don't agree with. I gotta find a couple more bearings. And it's funny because I stock these bearings. You know, because, you know, Traxxas, sometimes they go bad. You know, I got a ton of them. But I'd rather keep changing bearings than to have to change knuckles. I'll tell you that right now. So we're gonna use that. I need a couple pins. So spread the word. I want this to get back to RPM. I'm glad that I took this thing out bashing. And you can check out the last video. It was just at a park. I didn't even do any bad jumps with the thing. You know, I did backflip off a rock, but it's like the factory stuff does this. Why won't RPM parts handle the abuse? I mean, Traxxas seems to think it's okay. And for them to say, no, you got to follow Traxxas's guidelines. Well, Traxxas never told me I couldn't jump it past 2 feet. Only ones that said that were RPM, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. 2 feet, 24 inches. That's ridiculous. That's like saying a monster truck, a real full-size monster truck at Monster Jam, can't jump over, you know, 2 feet. Or for them, it might be, what, 10 feet? Because 1/10 scale, whatever the scale would be, that's silly. And I watched monster trucks do backflips too. Or are we supposed to drive it, you know, drive our Xmaxes like driving Miss Daisy? Just drive them up and down the road and not scratch them. Mall crawlers, I guess. We should turn all our RCs into mall crawlers so that we don't scratch them and we don't get them dirty, because RPM parts can't handle it. But you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. It's just a silly response from RPM, what they sent me. Just kind of like SMC batteries, you know. It's the same thing I felt with those guys. That's better. Oh, I should have stuck the axle in. Got all caught up in seeing the issue that I keep forgetting to put the axle back in. One more clip and we're done. Stupid RPM parts. Oh, I forgot this too. Since it's going into aluminum now, just gotta put a little little love on it. There we go. This side is now changed out. Now I'll turn on the camera when we pull apart the other side if there's an issue. So we'll be right back when I pop apart the other side. Be right back. Alright, like I thought, this one actually has a stock part on it because the RPM one broke on this side. So I took basically everything I had to put my RCs back together using whatever parts I had between RPM and factory. And I was able to get the RCs put back together, but it's just something I shouldn't have to do, you know, RPM junk. But there won't be a problem with this side because this is factory parts. And the factory parts are way stronger than the RPM stuff. Even though the RPM ones have the bigger bearings, the factory bearing carrier is just that much better. It's way better than the RPM one. So why waste your money on something that is just going to keep pulling pins? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. See? Small bearing. And the bearing is still actually good. The seal's still in there. The bearing's still good. Both sides, you know? It's like, why am I going to put something with a bigger bearing in that the plastic is far less superior than the factory stuff? If you're going to build, you know, control arms to flex, don't build your knuckles out of the same material. Would you possibly build a knuckle out of the same material? Look how much nicer this is than, you know, all ribbed, reinforced. And this stuff is solid and it flexes. Look, I can bend it. I can literally bend the plastic right there. These, I can't do that. It's all reinforced. And this, where the bearing pulled out, you know, it's stupid. So stupid. I don't know. Makes me mad, guys. But there we go. I'm going to end the video off here. I'm going to finish putting this together off camera. I think I've made my point. We're going to go ahead and test out these Atomics. The part number 4061R. R standing for red. And so if you guys want them, they're up on eBay. I suggest it. Definitely way better than RPM stuff. But somebody was also saying that Vidavon was going to make something as well. I hope they do, and I hope it's a better product than what RPM is. Well, you can't get any worse than RPM. I'll put it that way. Because, you know, RPM is so messed up now that honestly, you can't get a worse product, because what's worse than the hub breaking or the bearing carrier that you just bought? I don't think there's anything worse than that. Oh, wrong side. The heck? Why is this not going in? Maybe because I have it crooked. Yep. So there we go, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I suggest anybody with them, go ahead and check yours. You know what to look for now. I've I've shown you where the problem lies, and please, everybody check your RPM bearing carriers, because if you've ran it at all, most likely that pin is going to be half out, and you're not going to realize that there's a problem. Most people wouldn't know what to look for, which is sad, but it happens. I didn't catch it until mine broke on basically 2 RCs. That's when I caught it. So there we go, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys on my next video. Appreciate the support, and we will see you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.